appreciation of HRC to the Stonewall Museum. This is my favorite venue on the Drive. I think it is an absolutely spectacular thing for us to have in Wilton Manors because, in my opinion, you cannot be an advocate for a cause if you don't understand the history of the cause, what transpired beforehand, who made the changes. So right now we have, we're being challenged. There's no question about that. But a lot of things about our life is so much different than it was for members of the LGBTQ community decades ago. And it was a hard road. And if you don't know what that road looked like and you don't understand who those people were and how they moved the ball forward, you cannot be an effective advocate today. And Stonewall not only memorializes those people, and kudos to them for doing it, but it's an education tool for the rest of us to see what happened before us and to learn from that. And finally, of course, it is my great honor and privilege today to be the person that gets to introduce Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Shultz. As everyone in this room, I've always been an enormous fan of hers because our Congresswoman finds issues that actually matter to people, and she sets about and she fixes them. So when you look through the years from 2005 when she entered Congress, if you were a woman with a breast cancer diagnosis, your life is better because of Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Yes.
If you
Thank you so much for pulling this together, for your leadership, for being a presence with HRC in South Florida, because the rights of the LGBTQ community are the civil rights issues, is the civil rights issue of our generation. How I was going to approach the conversation about what being gay meant and what my responsibilities were as a parent to instill in my children when they asked me. And I remember when it finally came, I remember thinking that I was standing at a crossroads in my children's life. And it was a crossroads that so many other parents stand at. And you make a choice at that point. You are either going to choose to raise and educate a tolerant and understanding and loving and inclusive child who you will nurture into someone who has all of those qualities as an adult, or you are going to take the other road, which is chosen far too often, and raise a hater and instill values in them that certainly aren't welcome in our house. And I just remember that like it was yesterday. And so we chose love, and that's what this movement is all about, is that we have to make sure that from generation to generation, in my faith tradition we call it Lador Gador, from generation to generation, it is our responsibility to pass on our values. And that means the entire breadth of values, not just religious values, but the values that you need to instill in your children so that they grow up to become the good people that you want them to be. But it's why it's so important that we have organizations like HRC, because not everybody is as fortunate as we are. And we have to make sure that no matter where you live, no matter who you love, and no matter what your priorities are, that someone is going to be there to have your back when a crisis occurs. And unfortunately, with the administration we have in Washington right now, you just never know. So we have to be standing at the ready every minute of every day. Thank you guys so much.
The work isn't done. We live in a country where over 30 states you can be fired for being LGBTQ. You can be refused to eat at a restaurant or stay at a hotel. You can be refused to rent an apartment. Okay, we, as a congresswoman just said, we live in a great place. We have local protections. Those are not statewide. So Florida has no protection against folks that live, for example, in Jacksonville, where a young gay person could be kicked out of his or her home because of their sexual preference. These are the things that HRC knows how to change, and we go into the grassroots and we change them one by one. So last year, we had 250 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced across the states. That's a pretty staggering number. I mean, to talk about coming at you with driving force. HRC was there, especially for all of the big key battles, sometimes even setting up local camp. We're basically a volunteer organization with a very limited skeletal paid crew in DC, and their job is kind of to take care of people like me and Nick and the other volunteers here. So it's a volunteer organization, and we go to these places and we fight these hate-inspired bills. We were successful. So there was only any bill that passes a horrible thing, but there's only a 2% passage rate in 2016. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And it's because of the aggression of HRC and how we combine with corporations. We have corporate allies and allies in other equality groups. This year already we have 135 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in the states. That is outrageous. We are just in June, and we already have that many. We are seeing laws passed like in Texas, where now someone's religious affiliation and what they think about LGBTQ community is allowed by law to be elevated over the best interest of a child, and a child could be denied a home and parents because the person who's doing the adoption doesn't like us. That's outrageous, okay, and it has to stop. And the only way we can keep it from stopping is to have folks like you step up to the plate and help us. And yes, it's both financially and volunteer-wise. If anybody here wants to be involved and hit the streets with all of us, we are a nice, friendly group. We have a good time. Nick can stand for that. I'm my co-chair and fellow HRC governor. And please come aboard, because number one, what HRC always says, number one, we want your time. That's the most valuable thing, to get out there in the world and spread the message, make us as visible as we can possibly be. The other thing, and this is the pitch for tonight, this event is hosted by Federal Club. Federal Club of HRC is the backbone of our political and legislative activities. Its members fund all of the progress that we've made across the states. It is the reason why we had a 2% success rate in 2016. Because we're out there with the support of our local Federal Club members. And here's the deal. It's $100 a month. Most people choose to have that just taken out of their account. It's very, very easy to do. It's a lot of money for a lot of people. For most people, $100 a month is not that significant that it would put a huge burden on your day-to-day life. And I'm asking you all to step up and join Federal Club tonight and make a difference. I think especially in this political climate, anybody who's been sitting on the sidelines and thinking this job is getting done someplace, stakes are getting higher and it's time to step in.